Gentlemen, good to see you both. Welcome to Popternative.
Good
Nice
to
to meet
see
you.
you. Thank you.
Castlevania Nocturne Season 2. I'm really excited to chat with you about this. Clive, I wanted to kind of know, because one thing I love about this series specifically is this kind of blend from a viewer perspective. So I want to know, from making it, like, amazing storytelling, but crazy, amazing, stimulating visuals. So what's that like, kind of seeing that balance come to life as you're making a new season of Castlevania Nocturne?
Well, I mean, obviously, I had not done animation before, so
Yeah.
to see it for the first season was an amazing experience. And we have, the team, Sam and Adam Deats, the director, do a fantastic job, and it's always a joy to see what they've done with the scripts, the things that they brought to it, the ways that they visualized it happening, in the first place, how you see the character, when seeing the characters come to life in that way, which obviously very different from just casting an actor.
Yeah.
Because it's being drawn. And so, yeah, and all through this second season, it's been very exciting to see the inventiveness they've brought to think. So, for instance, the big climax epic battle at the climax of season 2. I mean, they did an extraordinary job with imagining the different aspects of that battle and so forth, and the conflict between the army.
No, absolutely. Kevin,
much
to add to
away.
that a little bit, there is many kind of steps on this journey to get new episodes of Castlevania out to the world. What is your favorite part of that journey? Because it's a multi-process journey, right? Like, there's discussions and everything. Is there something you love the most about that kind of journey of creating it and then disseminating it specifically?
Honestly, like the whole process, like is like each step of the way, like you can just feel it come together. So you get the writing, you get the great story, you get excited there. You start going out and looking for your cast of actors who are going to come in and breathe life into the characters, and you start recording. Like, this is great, right? Like, we've got the cast, we've nailed it, and you're into storyboards and animatics and design, and it's like, you know every step of the way it gets better.
Yeah.
Right, it gets more exciting because you've got people that are just, now I'm going to bring my talent into it. I'm going to bring these great designs, these great backgrounds. I'm going to, do this great score. It wonderful sound effects. It's no it's I can't pick one. It's the whole process for me is awesome.
Absolutely. It's interesting too, because Clive, I wanted to kind of ask you, I don't want to go into big spoilers because I feel like I'm always walking on eggshells, and I feel like the best, like, this is a show, like, going in fresh is the best, right? But you mentioned like climax and everything. I mean, for season 2, every time a new season of a show comes back, the first kind of things that come to mind is like, how are we going to make it bigger and how are we going to make it better? That's always kind of the end goal. So I wanted to know, Clive, if you can comment on that a little bit. What was that kind of mindset like in terms of returning to make kind of a season 2 specifically?
I think what you have to try to be guided by is the logic of the story. So the logic of the story, what's set up here is it's the French Revolution. The vampires are on the side of the aristocracy. Our heroes are on the side of the revolution. That's the gist of it. And so some climax that is to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
That always felt like it had to be where it went. If it didn't go there, then it would be disappointing in some way. And so I think allowing that to guide you is the key, really.
Absolutely. It's so interesting too to see, once kind of episodes drop, there's a lot of theories and people have kind of questions about certain characters. Kevin, some creators and showrunners, sometimes it can be kind of overwhelming, right? Seeing that whole response, especially when a show like this drops worldwide on Netflix, so many people get to watch it. What do you think about that whole kind of world of the fandom of Castlevania and the theories and everything? Can you talk a bit about your kind of experience seeing that? Because it's so crazy once the season drops on Netflix. It's just kind of crazy. It's like wildfire, so to speak, with a lot of the theories and comments. Like, what's your experience like with that specifically?
And for the most part, it's great, right? We live in a world where you have social media, and people's responses are instantaneous. And like, by far, I think, whether it's the original series or Nocturne, like the fan response has been overwhelmingly positive. People respond, differently to different characters, to different moments. There's, different aspects that become people's favorites. But, really in the olden days, you had like Nielsen ratings, right? And you didn't have social media, and you kind of just like, well, people watched it, but it's hard to really get that feedback. But I think from a creative perspective, being able to hear what fans are thinking, and you spend a lot of time doing this. These shows take years to make, so to get positive feedback or even constructive negative feedback is great.
Totally, absolutely. I want to ask you.
Add one thing to that, which is that I've done live action shows where you get a social media reaction, but it only goes on for a few weeks.
Yep.
I mean, this still, if I look at X, there'll be some comment on. I mean, obviously it's renewed now because of about the second season, but even before that, there'll be stuff within the last couple of hours. The interaction is just constant, which is an extraordinary experience.
So that interests me, Clive. Do you think that has to do with the big world Castlevania is? Because there's so much that kind of happens. Like, do you think it has to do with the kind of size of the world and the complexity of the characters? Like, I'm just wondering, is that something that stands out? Like, I'm curious about that, about your comment.
I mean, hopefully it's that. I think it's also that there's a big fan base for the games and for the original Netflix show. So there's a big audience of people who are invested in it, and so is that too.
Is there a little bit, like, Kevin, kind of to add to that, when you make something based on, like, that has original source material before that, like the video games, original shows, does it feel sometimes like a little bit of like a ping pong match, a little bit where, you want to take elements that people love from the original source material of Castlevania, but at the end of the day, this is Castlevania Nocturne, like it's a different thing. Like, do you think about that? Because I do find that interesting. I'm a filmmaker myself, and I find that interesting with source material too, right? Like the back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you have to honor where you came from, right? It's not that we're just, trying to take Castlevania and name and not do that. So we're always looking at, the underlying source material, underlying thematics of the characters of the particular time periods in terms of the choices that we make, and trying to, be true to that. But, we're also, the original Castlevania series, while, coming from the games, also was its own thing too, right? So, both things can exist and not be the same, right?
Absolutely.
They have to feel like a part of the same world. And I think that's, for us, is always the most important thing to do.
No, absolutely. And January 16th in the new year, Castlevania Nocturne Season 2 is going to be available on Netflix. Last question for both of you before we wrap up, and I hope I get different answers. Clive, we'll start with you. I mean, I want to know if there's something specifically you're looking forward for people to see the most with, Season 2 of Castlevania Nocturne. Is there a character you're excited for people to see? Is there an element? Is there something new that we haven't seen with this season before? Is there anything specifically that you're really excited for people to see?
I mean, honestly, I love all the characters, and I'm very excited at the sort of continuation of the stories of all of them. I think the big climax is a big climax, and I think it'll be like nothing you've ever seen. And I'm very excited indeed for people to see.
Absolutely, it started with this interview started with a climax, and ended. This must be some climax. Kevin, you can't say climax. Anything else?
Since I can't say that, I actually, I really enjoy Maria's story in this season, right? And Maria's story is, there's a lot of things going on there, and in some ways it's more at the front end of the season, sort of through the halfway point. So the mid-season climax, can I say that?
Yeah,
mid-season
absolutely.
climax.
Now it's just kind of like, now people are going to watch these interviews and say they just got to watch it's a very good tactic to have people just binge it right away, because people need to see these climax. Absolutely. Castlevania Nocturne Season 2, January 16th on Netflix. It was an honor and privilege to speak with both of you. Thank you so much, and happy holidays.
Thanks, same to you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.